Morning!
Madnin!
Welcome to the India Explained podcast, recorded in London and San Francisco. One take, unscripted, no rehearsal.
Hey Bunty, greetings from San Francisco. And I guess welcome back to London. You've been traveling around Europe quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true, Rohit. Good to be talking to you. I've been bouncing back and forth between France, Poland, and the UK on work. But now today in the UK, yes, I've been on the road for a while, but glad to be connecting back with you now and doing this. What are we going to talk about today, Rohit?
All right, so I thought we'll do a mix of stories. Let's do something that's, an initiative that's uplifting. Let's do like the complexities of Indian politics. So we'll do like the Karnataka election definitely. And then for, the sort of strange and slightly offbeat. So there's this guy, Gujarat official called Ramesh Chandra Phaphar. So he's an engineer. And what happened is that he was served a show cause notice because there's some kind of project. I don't know if it's like dam or some pond or some project. He's shown up for apparently 14 days in the last 6 months or something. And his point is that he's an incarnation of Kalki, the 10th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So he said he could not make it to work because he existed in the 5th dimension. But salary was being drawn in the 1st dimension, as my father-in-law pointed out. So that's hilarious. And then the, ANI channel, they also have a little video clip of him. I'd like to play it. But anyway, the long and short of it is that he said, quote, "Just like everybody laughed at me at the time of Mahabharat, sorry, you guys are doing the same because you're unable to see God in me," unquote. So, I'll just leave it here. Just run with it, man.
Okay, I think this guy is he's lifting this idea from a Satyajit Ray movie, right? So there's a movie by Satyajit Ray called it's a movie with two small sections. It's a movie in 2 parts. It's called Kapurush and Mahapurush, right? Or Mahapurush Kapurush. The first bit is about a dodgy Baba, a saint, right? Who says he's been living since time immemorial, right? He was in first name terms with Jesus, right? And then he guided Muhammad in the right direction. So he was involved in all the faiths of the world at any points in time, right? So this guy reminds me of this kind of all-knowing fraud, which is, I have been the 10th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. My question is obvious. Why did he just come as the 10th? Why couldn't he be some other, right? Because I guess he's thinking that if I go with the other sequences, then it leaves room open for somebody in the neighborhood to pretend to be the next one, right? And then it kind of takes away from his mojo. Right. So okay, as I was talking about it, I suddenly realized I'm the 10th because I'm the last. Right? And there's nobody after me. So that could be one. Now, what I don't understand is, has he written a note of absence to his departmental... he's calling this out in media, but I'm interested that, in the procedure of bureaucracy, there has to be a letter, right?
I think there was a letter first. And so I think what happened is, pardon me, he wrote an official reply in, response to a show cause notice served to him, and it's the Sardar Sarovar Punar Vasvat Agency or SSPA. And he says that he also claimed in that letter, thanks to my penance, the country is getting good rains. And he said that, he can't come to office because he's conducting a penance to quote unquote change the global conscience. Thanks to which the country is getting good rain, said Ramesh Chandra Phaphar, superintending engineer with the Sardar Sarovar Punar Vasvat Agency or SSPA, in reply to a show cause notice served to him. So the notice and his bizarre reply have gone viral on social media. Even if you don't believe, he says, I am the 10th incarnation. I'm indeed the 10th incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and I will prove it in the coming days.
There's something about these Gujaratis, yeah. They take aspects of faith and turn it into this random nonsense.
Yeah.
This and the other challenging thing is this guy is an engineer who's supposed to build a structure, right? Can you imagine the well-being of a dam or the well-being of a bridge or a building resting on the guy who thinks he's the 10th incarnation of a god? This but look, you have to give him credit that he could have chosen an excuse, like there are people in the West who sometimes get overwhelmed by work and invent a mental affliction which prevents them from taking up responsibilities in a job, and I think what this guy has got is clearly a mental issue. But he's kind of trying to toe some kind of faith line and hoping that he'll get away with it. I hope he gets a sternly worded letter and he's fired. And if he's truly Kalki, then money shouldn't matter to him. He should be able to see through time and work with it. So, because on the one hand you'll be eating vada pav, on the other hand you'll be saying I'm Kalki. It doesn't cut both ways. You pick a side, boss. So if you're God incarnate, you don't need a paycheck. You can magic up food, ration, whatever, AC, petrol.
So there's two things here. I mean, I think, this is kind of tricky terrain. So, pardon my unparliamentary diction, but, I'm looking at that little video clip. The guy is totally confident, right? I mean, if I may just indulge in some vulgarity, like the balls on this guy, like you have to just kind of, sort of marvel at his confidence. So I think that this is a guy who knows the bureaucratic system inside out, and he probably knows that he can't get fired because, he's someone who will, file a case, then the case will go on for 31 years. In the meantime, he will manage to keep getting his pay, etc. And he's, obviously someone who's probably already adept at gaming the system like many bureaucrats. So that's one thing. Now, my sense is that if the person were delusional, he would, I don't know if he would have this kind of, complete confidence. He strikes me more in the charlatan, very, very confident fraud realm, as you point out.
Right.
If he's delusional, then, he needs support. And then he's, obviously it's still an interesting story, but maybe he deserves our, sympathy more than, any kind of like satirical take or commentary. But then, if that is the case, then he should not be in charge of building something. I mean, he shouldn't be in charge of building something. Correct.
Exactly. Because, if you're just jumping in there, okay, if you've got a mental illness, whether it's depression or some kind of paranoia, I think, excuse my flippant remarks early on, you need to get treated for it. Right.
So that is what it is. But either way, you're absolutely right. But there's a second issue I want to point to, which to me is very interesting. You're right in saying he said that he's the 10th and final prophet. All prophets claim that they are the final prophet. In fact, in Islam, the whole controversy over the attacks on Ahmadis is that they worship someone who claimed he was a prophet, and Sunni Muslims, other Muslims who deny Ahmadis the right to call themselves Muslims say that the Prophet Muhammad is the final prophet. Now, there's an interesting question I want to raise here, which is that, through history, what prophets have claimed about themselves, is Ramesh Chandra Pfeffer claiming anything different, right? Because every prophet has claimed that they have basically direct access to God. And the interesting philosophical question for me here is that, on what basis do we draw the line between who is a legitimate prophet and who is not, right? There is no prophet certificate. Prophets are people who've just declared themselves as such and managed to persuade enough number of people. So, what's the difference between a prophet in a quote-unquote legitimate religion, between the leader of a cult, and, just this Ramesh Chandra Pfeffer, who's basically, this guy is a Lone Ranger crackpot. So just thought I'd put the idea out there.
No, I think you've got, in the Venn diagrams of Babas and cults, this guy is a small circle. I think he's a lone wolf Baba or Kalki. So he hasn't got the wherewithal to kind of tool up. What he's done is he said he's just happy with a structural engineer's paycheck bumming on the back of that. Right. If he had a little more enterprise, he would kind of throw in a dollop of sex, throw in a bit of Chyawanprash, and make a bit of an industry out of it, right? But I don't think he has the worldview that is sophisticated enough to aim for that. So, he's arsing around his home, just taking it easy, watching daytime. And this is IPL season, boss. So a lot of time pass can happen because of being Kalki. So IPL over, he has to go back to work. So we never know. But interesting case. I think I'm glad we talked about this guy. Obviously, but I'll tell you what. Because you mentioned cults, I saw something on Netflix, and I'm not in the habit of promoting this. An episode called Wild Wild West, which looks closely at Rajneesh and his doings. You're so right that these Babas are all self-attested. These cult leaders, they're self-attested people. Self-attested. I'm God's appointment, and everybody's the last one because they're scared that there'll be another one after them. Anyway, chalo, that's all I have to say on this, Rohit.
Me too. I mean, I don't think the guy deserves more attention. He's doing it for attention, and he's got enough, and we shouldn't let's not feed the beast anymore. Chalo, we'll wrap this one up, and we'll be back with another episode. Okay, boss.
Chalo, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to us. Rohit and Bunty would like to sign off. Please stay tuned. Follow us on India Explained on Twitter. Keep listening. Thank you for all your support.